someone called me out of my name or labeled me as something that I'm not, I would not have time to advocate for the fierce and urgent issues in my community, issues of poverty and joblessness, of the lack of health care, of violence, verbal and physical violence.
Yes, God, speak about it. Rip Elon Nettles.
You, Janet, that somebody
Rip
like
CC.
me, who has been
Rip
such
Reddy.
an open supporter
Rip
of
Brittany.
the community that you
Rip
represent
Erica
so
Morgan.
well and so publicly,
Rip Lorena.
you target me for what you knew
Rip
would
Stacy.
be a load of abuse that then followed. You did. The tweets last night ignited a firestorm of abuse and vilification my way because you said I had sensationalized your story. I was not formerly a man. I wasn't formerly a boy. It was another tweet you said. All this kind of rhetoric that you produced. And yet, yeah, but Janet, they were important tweets to me.
Let's talk about your tweets, Piers.
I tweeted them at the framework of your show and how they were packaging this story that we did. Our exchange was completely fine. But when you package something with the headline, until 18 was a boy, and also say formerly a man, when in talking about my beloved, the love of my life, and our interaction together, that is false advertising, and that is infotainment, because I understand as someone who worked in media, who worked at People magazine, who worked as an editor, I understand that sensationalizing our stories entices people to look in. But I hope that the best thing that we can get out of it is to be a learning and teaching moment for all of us.
Janet, with the greatest of respect, and I mean with the greatest of respect, you've written a book, Redefining Realness, My Path to Womanhood. My Path to Womanhood, Identity, Love, and so much more, right? I've got here, as I say, the Marie Claire article that started
You didn't read that book.
Media profile.
Don't be saying to Taylor like you read that book.
Repeatedly, in your words, saying
I did not write that piece. It's not my words.
So let me ask you
I'm a writer.
He's not listening. He's not listening. We're wasting time.
I would like to ask you a question.
Okay, can I ask mine first, then you can ask yours? Okay? My question is simply this. Do you dispute that you were born a boy?
Do I dispute that I was born a boy? I was born a baby who was assigned male at birth. I did not identify or live my life as a boy. As soon as I had enough agency in my life to grow up, I became who I am. And this did not start at 18 when I went to Thailand to have surgery. It started when I was 6 years old. And my parents saw me.
Even younger, at 3 years old, when you put on the dress, honey, your grandma caught you.
And it's hard to communicate that in 30 seconds or even in a 140-character tweet. That's why I'm here right now. I want this to be a learning and teaching moment for all of us because there's a lot of misunderstanding. Just as much as you were vilified, or as you say from my supporters, that's actually my community who are vilified every single day and misunderstood. And
thank you.
Isolation.
There's some trauma there. We were triggered, Piers. You pissed me off, Piers. You pissed me off.
My question to you is, will you please use your platform to continue to tell our stories and to let us...
Yes.
Well,
yes, as I always have done.
Yes, and I would love to have coffee with you and sit down and have a real conversation off air and really
we will do that.
And have transcendence and understand one another.
Right.
Don't do it, Jen. You better take security, girl.
I have never said that you were wrong or that anyone who's been through a transgender process is wrong or was somehow in the wrong place or wrong body. I've never used that kind of terminology. I would see that as being obviously offensive. I don't see that as being wrong, that you were born a boy and felt you were a woman and are now a woman. I don't feel that anything of that is wrong. And I don't think the terminology is offensive. And I think my complaint about what you did with those tweets is that, A, you never raised any of this as an issue during the interview where I repeatedly referred to you as having been male before. You never picked me up on it or showed any sign of irritation. And I think that I just felt that you threw me to the wolves of it. And by the way, I don't mind. I'm a big boy. I can take it. I can take being vilified by anybody. I don't mind being vilified. I get it every day from people who support the lack of gun control in America, right? However, I do think it was a little unfair that you sparked off this firestorm of abuse to me when I am a supporter of your community and always have been.
She didn't spark it off. I sparked it off. I was the first one to tweet you, honey. Now, you want to put me on there?
Me, the enemy, and the target of abuse. And you've read the tweets. You know what I'm talking about. When actually I'm on your side.
I couldn't read the tweets. I could not read any of the tweets. My life today and the lives of trans people continue to have been more and more miseducated and misinformed within these tweets. And I think it's bigger than Twitter, and I think it's bigger than this book. This is a conversation I think our country is going through, well, my country, is going through a lot in terms of our culture on trans issues. And how then do we report on these lives without sensationalizing, without enticing, without warping and throwing definitions and labels on people who have the capacity and the know-how and the experience to claim their lives. And I think our exchange was good. You know, you compare me to Beyonce, and I live for her. But it was also bad in the sense that it further showed other people in my community that if Janet Mock can be misgendered, if she can be labeled something that she is not, then what does that mean for me? And I'm only out here doing this work for these girls that grew up like I did.
Yes, Janet. That's the only reason we here, honey. I'm here is because of you.
Okay, Janet, I get it. My advice
Do you get it?
in return would be
I don't need advice. I don't need advice, but I will take guidance.
You've just given me advice I perhaps also don't feel I need, but I've taken it in good grace.
You just asked her the question.
Next time you're doing a big, high-profile television interviewer and you feel that the interviewer is miscategorizing your identity or your gender, my advice, and I say this in a nice, friendly, respectful way, is say something. Don't pretend it's all gone very well and shake that into his hand afterwards and thank him, and then go off 5 days later and ignite a social media firestorm of abuse.
She didn't. That was Chernobyl, honey.
So I don't try to
and
my struggle in life with
let's talk about your penis and if your left nut hang low.
Remain a great supporter of the transgender community. I hope we can both move on from this, and I appreciate you coming back on the show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful job, Janet.
When we come back, Jerry Seinfeld, is he a victim of political correctness?
This